The year was 1914. For those who know their world history rather well, you'll know that the entire world was embroiled in the First Bitter World War. And certainly all nations were very tired and fatigued. They wanted rest, they wanted to be able to be at peace again, and yet it was not happening. Even at that moment, Pope Benedict XV, he had just been elected pontiff, and he called out for world peace, but to no avail. That call fell on deaf ears. And so it seemed as if it were a hopeless cause, but there was one day where there seemed to be a little bit of hope, where the human spirit, at least that's what it seemed to be, it took hold for just a moment. You see, all of the soldiers on the Western Front, it was Christmas Eve, and they were all kind of settling down for the night, and they were far from home. And one of the things that brought them comfort on that cold and bitter winter's night was Christmas carols. And wouldn't you know it, one that they knew was common amongst all the others. Adeste Fideles, the Latin hymn, O Come All Ye Faithful. That it was this that started to unite all of the nations together because they were all able to sing in unison. And so even in the middle of that night, even in the middle of a war, they found some peace. And they were able to commune, they were able to be together and not to fight, at least in most places, for the course of an entire day, Christmas Day itself. That the King of Kings, the Prince of Peace, he was the one that brought peace, at least for a day. And it's such a beautiful thought that Christmas Day itself had the power to stop a world war, at least for a little while. And in today's gospel, we see all sorts of different ideas that seem a little bit unrelated. Some of the commentaries I looked at said there's about 7 different homiletic possibilities in the context of this gospel. But I don't know about you, but one called out above the others. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give it to you. Let not your hearts be troubled or afraid. Isn't that a nice thought? Doesn't that speak to your heart, to the depths of your being? Isn't that something that just makes you feel a little bit warm and fuzzy? Now, certainly the fuzzies might be there, but then there's also a question. Where's the peace gone? Why do we not have it anymore? Is the Lord upset with us and so we don't have this peace anymore? Or are we overlooking something? Because if we look at the global stage, we still don't have peace, at least not in every place. Or if we look at our nation, it seems as if it is irreconcilably divided, that there's one party against another and some people even in between. Even in our homes and families, many of us also experience conflict and division even there. Where is this peace that the Lord speaks about and offers to us? Is it still available? Do we have to buy something, or is there something else that we might be missing? The reality is actually in the course of this simple verse, it unlocks something important for the spiritual life, because we think about peace and we have this vague concept of what it might be. Perhaps it is the absence of conflict, whether on a global scale or even individually. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's peace. Or maybe it's this rest. We're able to kind of kick back our shoes and we're able to sit back and watch our favorite TV show and just kind of sit there and be. That maybe that's peaceful. Maybe it's just joy and happiness. But the reality is Christ offers us something more, and something far more desirable than we might have expected. So look at this first couple of lines. What exactly is it saying? Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give it to you. So what is this saying? This first, it has us recognize something. We often settle for less. We settle for counterfeit. We look for peace in all the wrong places. What are some examples of this? The latest gadget, the thing that we hold in our hand that consumes hours and hours of our day. We can download the latest apps. We can scroll through any social media platform that we desire. And yet, something seems lacking. It seems like we've distracted ourselves for a little while, but the problems are still there that we distracted ourselves from. So it might seem like it's a peace, but it's only temporary. Or how about this? Let's go be a part of the rat race. Let's get all the newest stuff that we can amass, the newest car, the newest house, all of the niceties of this life. We want to be in the know. We want to be amongst the most elite of people. We want to hang out with all the people that are desirable to have their company. We want to be with them. And we want them to have a favorable opinion of us. Perhaps then I will be able to have peace. But the problem is, as many of these things as we kind of scrape together, there's never really any semblance of peace, is there? So maybe that's not the answer either. Because if we're honest in our heart of hearts, we can chase after a lot of these things. It doesn't fix life. And it doesn't fix the problems that are going on. Or maybe this. Maybe God's been holding out on us. Maybe if we just kind of give ourselves an excuse for just a moment, we can break the third commandment. We don't need church today. I'm feeling too sick anyway. Or we can just kind of go through and pick and choose because all these sins, they seem like good things to do. Maybe these are offering us peace and God's just kind of holding us away, saying, you don't want that. He's trying to test our obedience. But God knows something else too, doesn't He? As often as we choose sin, as often as we choose to do the wrong thing, as often as we choose to gossip, as long as we choose to hurt one another, what happens? Well, we might get a little semblance of something we might like to call peace for a while, but then we feel even worse than we did before. So God does know something, that all these things He's telling us not to do actually harm our hearts, and they hurt our souls. So there's a lot of counterfeit options available to seek out peace, at least what we call peace. But what about Christ's peace? Because whenever He speaks to us, notice the way that He's worded this. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Now this is a different peace. This is a different security. This is a different serenity that is available to us. That's something that is the deepest longing of our heart. It's there and it is the answer. That in fact the Lord wants to provide us this peace because it's different. It doesn't last for just a time. It isn't fleeting, and there's no strings attached like a lot of the forms of peace that the world has to offer, or at least the alleged forms of peace. And so the Lord is offering us something different because He wants to give us that place where, yes, we can be secure. Yes, we don't have to worry about what's going on. Yes, that even in the midst of life's problems, we're still able to kind of navigate and be okay. And so what does this require then? Because notice, He's saying that He's giving us peace. He's offering it to us. He's leaving it for us. But it's not an automatic thing that occurs. And so what happens? Or what do we need to do? And that is where the word surrender comes in. Because my brothers and sisters, I don't know about you, but sometimes I like to feel like I have it all in control. I have it all well in hand. That I've in fact figured out my own way in life. But the problem is, the more that we follow our own will, the more likely it is we're going to wind up in a different place. And that's important because we need to understand and believe in our heart of hearts that God's will for us will lead us to fulfillment and the peace that we desire, even in this life. It will lead us there. But we have to be able to trust. And we need to be aware, my brothers and sisters, because there is a very real danger and temptation that we can start to make our own will as if it's God's will. We can even fool and delude ourselves into thinking that this, my will, is what God wants. And so we even start to say, we prayed about it, we thought about it, this is the option, this is what we're going with, when the reality is, we've strayed away from God and His plan. We don't want to trust. But what if we did? Because the thing is, the more and more we run, the more that we choose to just kind of go our own way, the more that we choose these counterfeit versions of peace, the more distraught we are, the further away we fall. And often, the more hurt we cause, not only ourselves, but those around us. And sometimes amazingly deceptive and amazingly devastating amounts of hurt. So what are we supposed to do? That's where that word surrender comes in. Because, my brothers and sisters, if we're honest, just kind of white-knuckling it through life and trying to go our own way, It doesn't work. It never has, and it never will. And we will always have that insecurity in our heart of hearts that will tell us that we're not doing what we need to be doing, that we're not following the way of the Lord, and that we don't have what our heart desires. And the Lord's promising us that He does. Why the foolishness? Why do we need to kind of chase things around in this life, these fleeting promises and these vague glimpses of these false versions of peace? Because these are the ones that we can control. But if we surrender to the Lord, if we surrender to His plan for us, if we truly allow Him to take control of our life, then notice the last line. Do not let your hearts be troubled or afraid. He's not saying that to people that aren't following Him faithfully. He's saying that to the ones that have surrendered, that have accepted His will. And He's not saying either that life will just go perfectly and spin like a top. We look at the lives of the saints and we see the contrary is likely true. Because many times the lives of the saints were filled with more difficulty. But the Lord's peace was through it all. His grace was there. We weren't trying to white-knuckle it and do things on our own in an unpeaceful way and in a way that causes us chaos in our hearts. And that is why, my brothers and sisters, this reassurance is here. Because the Lord wants us to be aware. The world has its false versions of peace. They will never satisfy. So we need to put those to the side. And we need to realize that, yes, there might be these things that are like a Christmas Day truce, but war starts the next day. We need to actually settle for the Lord. We actually need to surrender to Him and to the great design He has for our life. Because if we do, then maybe we'll feel that peace. And not only that peace, but even in the midst of all the difficulties, the trials, the circumstances, the things that are wildly beyond our control, we won't be bothered because our hearts won't be troubled or afraid because they are where they should be. They're with God our Father. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. My brothers and sisters, what's keeping us from surrendering to this peace the Lord has to offer to us?